anchored view up to find snipe entries, okay? Let's talk a little bit about the system which I call the anchored zone system, okay? And the reason why I call that the anchored zones is because one, we talked about zones, right, on the previous video, and two, we're gonna talk about anchored view ups on this video, and together they make the anchored zone system which I use, okay? Now, the biggest reason why I do love this system is because of its simplicity. I mean, literally anyone can do it, so you don't need to have much prior experience. I've had private clients come in, start using the system, have zero trading knowledge. Like, it's simple because it's one thing that we're looking at in one specific market, and you're gonna see this in a few examples in a bit. It's basically the same trading setup taken on different days, and that's really it. But it gets just repeated over and over again. The best part is it is institutionally based, okay? That means that large investors and investment companies are making their trading decisions in a very similar way on how the system works as well. No one really makes money in a stock market, futures market using moving averages, RSI, MACD, any of that. So trust me, I'm not gonna, introduce you to some concepts that don't work. It's actually during the visit at the NASDAQ Stock Exchange. You probably seen this photo, maybe earlier, but I got introduced to this concept there by a few traders who have been in the industry for like over 30 years. So possibility for higher returns, it's there. It gives you better entry fills, okay, than any other system out there. And that's why I love it, to find those snipe entries. One of my biggest frustrations, honestly, the first few years that I was trading was my losses were always bigger than my winning trades. And I just had no idea why it was happening. Luckily, this system does a lot of the work for you. So you're definitely going to get those high quality entry points with a healthy risk and return ratio, okay? Little time required, there's little time required to put this system to work. Yes, it will take time for you to learn the nuts and bolts, but in terms of actual trading, no more than 1 to 2 hours a day is required, honestly. Most of my trades usually are lasting a few minutes anyway, so 10 minutes is a long time for me. And that's really all you need if you are waiting for these key entry points. The best part is, as you know, with futures by now, you can make money both ways, no matter if the market is going up or down. It really doesn't matter. What we're focusing on is what happens inside one single day. Okay, the next day we can just click the restart button and we start over again, just focusing on that specific day. So whether we're having high inflation, low inflation, doesn't really matter as long as we're having volatility and trade opportunities. That's all we care about. So right before we actually go into TradingView and look at some examples, I just wanted you guys to have an idea of what we're doing and why do we exactly use the VWAP and the anchored VWAP, okay? Now on the chart on the left here, we have the NASDAQ E-mini futures, okay? And basically, again, it is just a plain chart. Now here's how it would look if we use the anchored zone system, okay? We have the zones and we have the anchored VWAPs as well. Okay, and then you'll notice on this chart that's all we have. Nothing really else. Okay. Now maybe you are familiar with the view up indicator, right? But if not, honestly, it's simple. It's a volume weighted average price. Okay, it's the average price plus volume weighted on those, and that's how the view up gets formed. Now, why the anchored view up is different is because you can anchor it at a different point in time. Okay, because the traditional view up only anchors at the beginning of each day, and that's it. And we're actually gonna, see how that works on TradingView as well. But here in this example, I've anchored the view up at the current day high, which in combination with the resistance zone gives us this nice entry for a potential move lower. Okay, now this is how the anchored zone system works, and this is kind of a pre-frame to the next video, which is my A plus setup. Okay, you basically got a sneak peek of it, but we're gonna go into the next video in very deep detail and a few examples. But that's basically how it works. Okay, we're not chasing breakouts like 90% of the traders out there. We're waiting for pullbacks and finding these snipe entries. Now, if you're wondering, wouldn't a normal view up or a moving average give me the exact same thing? The answer is no, okay? I mean, just look at how the normal view up will look on this chart. And it's gonna be the purple line at the top. Really gives us no entry point whatsoever. And if you're a moving average fan, this is how moving averages would look. I've placed on this chart 21, 50, the 200, which are, most popular ones, but none of them actually gives you an exact entry point like the anchored view up did, right? And that's the problem with moving averages as well. I mean, which ones are you actually going to use? Like, there's so many. Your chart just becomes like a rainbow. So, hopefully by this point you understand why, using anchored view ups and zones is, better than anything else you've seen out there. And it's very simple. It's very, very simple to use. So we're going to go into trading view in 2 seconds and actually go through some examples, okay? Okay, so right now you will notice that on my chart, there is only candlesticks and then we have this purple line in the middle, okay? That is the regular VWAP, okay? If you go into your indicators and search for volume weighted average price, it will come up as this line right here. Now, I personally do not use the standard deviations, okay? So I have them turned off. If you guys want to turn them on, sure, but I have personally turned them off. Again, I'm just using the middle line. Now, basic concept for the VWAP, just so everyone is on the same page here. Whenever the price is above the VWAP, okay, so these scenarios right here, here, right? It is considered bullish, okay? It is considered that buyers are in control. Whenever the price is below the VWAP, okay, that's where it is bearish and sellers are in control. And yes, the daily VWAP, right, could be used as a nice level for, bounces like this here, or breakouts like this here, breakouts, bounces, right? It's a very, very good zone, right? And we use that in combination with other zones as well that we find from just supply and demand, okay? So for example, if we have, opening price today right here, okay? And then we're waiting for the price. Let's just replay the chart here. Let's say we are doing this here, okay? We know that the view up is here, but we also have the opening price here. If you remember on the zones video, I told you guys that we can combine the daily view up with the actual levels as well. And this is what we do here as well, because yes, you could enter on a view up breakout, but why would I do that if there is a resistance level right there, right? And that's how these zones get formed like this. Okay, and that's a resistance zone. So I'd like to wait for a breakout of this zone first if I'm waiting for a breakout of the view up. Okay. So in this scenario, I'm probably waiting for the price to be here compared to here, just for a more probable trade. Again, obviously you get the better entry if you enter at the view up, but you want to be on the high probable trade, and that's what the high probable entry is as well. Okay, that's just one way to use the daily view up. But going into the main focus, the anchored view up. Okay, so the anchored view up basically is the daily view up, but anchored right here, or should I say the anchored view up anchored at the beginning of the day. So literally, if I go into the tools, okay, so you have the tools here on your left, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The fifth icon, if you click on it, it will have a drop down menu, and one of them is the anchored view. Okay, so that's the tool that you're going to use. Make sure you star it, so it's like a little toolbar here that you can have it all the time. Like literally, if I anchor the view up at the beginning of the day, it should be the same exact line. And there you have it, same exact line that we just got. Okay, so basically the anchored view up is just a view up anchored at a specific candle. Okay, it could be a specific moment in time, could be a specific date, could be a specific just place on the chart. There's a lot of ways to use the anchored view up. Okay, personally we're using it on trend highs and trend lows. Okay, because if you really dig deep into how we use the anchored view, you can use it after gaps, you can use it on big news events, you can use it after earnings, you can use it on IPOs, right? There's so many ways. Personally, I'm focused on trend lows and trend highs. You're gonna see exactly how we use that. Okay, now before we actually get into that, the reason why it works is because orders get placed around these levels, guys. Okay, so what does that actually mean? The simple example I could give you is basically if someone like a big investor wants to unload, I don't know, 10 million shares of a specific company. Maybe that specific stock does not have enough liquidity for those 10 million shares to be offloaded on one single day. So what they do is they're going to offload them for an entire month maybe. And usually what these investors do with their broker is they start selling those positions at the VWAP price, but because they're going to spread them out monthly, it's going to be the monthly VWAP. So what they would do is they would go all the way at the beginning of the month. Okay, so we're in September right now. We would go at the beginning of the month. So where is that? 3rd of September, looks like, yes, so 3rd of September. Okay, that's where the month starts. They would anchor a VWAP right there at 9:30. And then they would start selling those positions every time the price went here. And you can see these rejections, these big strong pullbacks happen at those zones because, again, there is a lot of liquidity happening around those areas as well. Okay, simple, just a simple example right there. Again, firstly, we're using trend highs and trend lows. So basically, if you are looking for any bounces, you would anchor the view up at the day low, for example, in this example, because that's the trend low as well. Never comes to, you can have it there, but it never kind of pullbacks. And then if we were to focus on the trend high, now here's the tricky part, which a lot of people miss. You can't just anchor a view up right here, guys, right? We really don't know that this is going to be, a downtrend, right? We have to wait for a trend to form first. If you don't wait for a trend to form first, then you're just going to, be replacing anchored view ups left and right for no reason. So if we move this just a little bit more, here is where you can actually see that, okay, you have a downtrend going, okay? Up to this point, it's really unclear if we're just consolidating and going higher, still holding the uptrend and so on. So once you see that clear downtrend, okay, that's your first, if you want to have like a big list of things that you want to check, first thing is make sure we have a trend, okay? Identify that trend and then anchor the view up where that trend starts. That should be kind of the way you're doing this. And then basically what you're waiting for to find those snap entries is you're waiting for the pullback to these anchored view ups, okay? You're basically waiting for the pullback to the mean. Everything retraces back to the mean, guys, okay? And that's what happens in this case as well. So if we just play this would be that retest. And as always, you want to wait for weakness. In this example, we're waiting for weakness from sellers, from a buyer. In this example, we're waiting for weakness from buyers and strength from sellers for us to potentially take this lower. If it just continues to break, then it's a breakout. But if we're looking for those pullbacks to the view up, then we're waiting for that rejection right there. So that's the first weakness, that's the first candle, and that's what I usually use as a confirmation. I use this pause, I use the first candle on the opposite color, and then I'm taking the next candle entry. Okay, so basically in this example, we would do something like that. Okay, that should be our entry right there. Okay, and this example works pretty well as well. Very, very well. Okay, now the day low view up, which is the bigger trend, could be used as a profit target as well. And you can see how, quickly buyers stepped in there with volume as soon as we hit that price right there. Again, these anchored view up work if you are placing them in the right areas, especially in combination with zones as well. Again, the next video is going to be basically completely about combining zones with anchored view ups. So we're going to go through a couple of examples there, but basically this is how you're using it, guys. Again, make that list that I just went through. Wait for that confirmation as well, and then take the trade. As always, make sure you have your stop losses placed, make sure you always have your profit targets placed and so on. And again, profit targets could be placed with just view ups, like you have an anchored view up from the uptrend, you have an anchored view up from the downtrend as well, and then that's how you're using it. But make sure you have profit targets. There's also another example which I wanted you guys to see from the opposite direction, right? So here we had a downtrend, we were waiting for a pullback and taking the shorts. Let's actually look at a pullback the opposite way as well. So let's actually go a few days earlier, September 15th. Yep, so exactly right here. Let me just replay this chart. Okay, so up to this point, it's a little bit unclear. Okay, it's a little bit unclear what is going on. The only thing that's clear to you right now is we have a big downtrend. You anchor the anchored view up right there, okay, and that's what you're waiting for if you want to take some more shorts. Okay. Now there's other people who are like, okay, I feel like the price is extended. Let me see if I can catch some bounce plays. I would not try to catch a bottom. Okay, catching bottoms is very, very risky because the probability is low. The risk and return is high just because again you're catching a low, a better price, but probability of it working is not the best. So if I play this chart, we want to identify a trend first, and so far we don't have much going on. Okay, so at this point we can see that okay, we're making higher lows, and we have this uptrend going. You want to anchor at the um, beginning of this big trend. Okay, so in this example, it would be day low. So basically, day high and day low are the anchored view ups. Not necessarily the case all the time. Okay, but let's just play, and then we're just waiting for either one of these to retest to take a potential entry. Okay, so that's your first entry right there. Okay, so if you want to take the shorts, what did I say? You wait for the retest, you wait for the weakness, and then you enter in the next candle. Okay, and again, private targets, either levels or anchored view ups. We're going to talk about that. And there you have it. Okay, that's it. From view up to view up, and the trade is done. Now, let's say you're done with this trade, okay, and you're like, okay, that trade is done, but you see a potential opportunity on this anchored view up bounce as well, and you're more than happy to take it if you have already, finished that trade and if you have a plan ready. Do not take trades like a machine gun, guys. If this trade was enough for you, I mean, that's from 955 all the way to 906. That's what almost 50 points there. So if that's enough, close the computer, be out for the day. But if you missed that, or let's say you missed this trade, here's your next trade opportunity. Okay, trend is still valid. That's your retest. This is your confirmation. We're entering on the next one. Okay, pretty simple. And this is your first target right there. Okay, you took a little bit of heat here, and that's why it's crucial to understand where to place good stop losses as well. Okay, it's very, very crucial because sometimes you might put a stop loss that's too tight and you end up missing moves like this, because sometimes it's going to happen. View ups could be this accurate and this accurate, but sometimes they break by a little and come back up. Okay, and that's why we use the risk table to understand, where those stop losses should be as well. Again, the next video, guys, will have everything that you've learned throughout this whole kind of course here combined and how we use that all together. Okay, but this ends up working. That's your first target, anchored view up, and then you hit the daily view up there as well. And I think it starts going higher as well. Okay, so I hope this made you a little bit more clear about what anchored view ups are and where to place them. Again, focus on identifying trends. Do not micromanage it. Focus on the big trends because that's what's going to give you the best potential entries.